view in my experience, even though they have been put forward as role models in the past. Australia may continue to be so, but it, of course, also came through this crisis in reasonably good shape. And so I'll follow up and then a question at the back.
So would it be advisable or would it be within the jurisdiction of this task force not only to help develop programs of literacy for Canadians generally, but is it in your purview to make the odd suggestion to regulators that perhaps they've regulated enough?
There was hope expressed in the question that the task force would see its mandate as persuading the regulators that perhaps we have sufficient regulation to date. I would be surprised if that's a central focus of the task force. I think we're rather than developing programs. Basically, one of our key findings is most of it's out there. We have to bring it together, leverage it, and make it work better. And in terms of regulation, I think it's a little early days to opine on that, but I would see that as being one of our areas of consideration rather than a focus. And we'll get, I'm sure, a lot of helpful input and feedback from the consultation program and the consultation document. Don't forget that we're going to be heavily web-enabled, and I'm quite sure we're going to get many, many points of input. So thank you. There was a question at the back that I think I missed. But I'll go over here.
It seems to me that one of the greatest challenges in financial literacy is the delivery system for the average Canadian.
Yes.
And in the midst of all this great information that's going to be collected, what approach is the task force going to take to have better delivery for those who need it most?
I think that's an excellent point as to one of the key issues is going to be the delivery system and making recommendations effective. And I would say that we are still wrestling with our thoughts on that one, because we can come up with many good ideas, direction points, but if they're not actioned, it's a report gathering dust on a shelf, and none of us in the task force want that. So I would say we're struggling a little bit in the early days of how it actually becomes effective. Where there are existing programs in place, it's a lot easier. For example, payroll savings plans and defined contribution pension plans and so on and so forth are all susceptible to good design of choice architecture. But when you move into individuals who are not part of some framework, be it they're not receiving something from government, they're not employed, then it becomes much more difficult to reach them. The individuals that many of you reach as clients, we're looking, in important part, as I say, for you to be a delivery system. But you're already doing that. You're helping your clients become more financially literate by explaining what's going on and getting them to act. But outside that, there are many communities that we will find it pretty hard to reach, and that's a key challenge of the task force. The questions are all coming from the middle, so people...
No, I'm standing at the mic here. So. Don, you said that the task force decided that the three legs of financial literacy are knowledge, skills, and confidence. My experience as an advisor is the more knowledge and skills an individual has, the less confidence they have in the system. And I'm just wondering, if you look at the kind of the systemic problems that have flowed out of the financial crisis, are you confining your work just simply to the financial literacy of consumers, or are you also going to focus on the financial literacy of regulators, government, and industry leaders?
I don't have to repeat that question. There's a theme seems to be emerging in the room that we're taking. Susan is taking careful note of the points. Let me say a few words on confidence. And overconfidence is obviously a very bad thing in a financial arena, and in fact, it led people to misinvest in the financial crisis. I would say the individuals that I've been meeting and dealing with in government are extremely well informed on this front. I think the whole Connect of that to the direction of regulation is a very difficult one. There's no question that there is a tendency, a trend to increase regulation everywhere, including here in Canada, where one might well argue, having come through the financial crisis extremely well, there may be less need for increased regulation. That's a very tough one for any of us to influence, because I think the momentum is in the direction of more regulation, whether we think it's appropriate, whether we like it. And we will endeavor to point out thoughtfully in our recommendations what we think is the right level of reaction to that. But our goal is to get Canadians to a more and better financial literacy destination than it is to confront or take on some of the government trends. We want financial literacy of Canadians to be better. So I'll go here and then here.
Yes, it's interesting that you've had experience in the UK, which is one area where they've gone to what I would call extreme with regards to regulation, to the point that the independent financial advisor, I believe, is compromised in their ability to move forward. And I'm wondering if you can comment on if the consumer, in your opinion, is better protected under an environment like that, and perhaps even how it got to a point where it is so regulated over there?
Taking I don't know if the question was fully had at the back of the room, but basically in the United Kingdom, the extremes of regulation seem to have been reached with a single all-encompassing regulator. And the question is the consumer well served, and how did all of this happen? This has actually been taking place over a period of about 25 years. So back in the mid-80s, there were a series, in fact, even going into the 70s, there was a series of very bad financial scams in the United Kingdom. And a number of new regulatory bodies were created, including the Personal Investment Authority and others. And then